GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Govi, a vernacular edutech brand, skilling everyone everywhere.
So we're again three. It always happens in threes. We were on Kandalam beach, and the whole idea was that Goa is also known for women. Like we'll meet some women and we'll have some women friends also. We'll go for dinners and go to these pubs, not as teen londas. But now the thing was, who's going to talk to these women? Because looking at him, I said, "ये कुछ करेगा नहीं, time pass कर रहा है, इसको वापस बुलाते हैं." Cut to, he's not there in frame. Oh no! And these women are running. He'd gone into a riptide or something. He got pulled in. So suddenly he's drowning. We got so scared and we were like, okay, okay, embarrassed भी हो गए. तो हम लोग गए नहीं. ये किसका सामान है, हमारा नहीं है.
Suddenly, randomly, one white car comes in front of us and it pulls out from somewhere and it's right in front of us. And at the back is written, "Follow me." And we are like, let's follow. You want your film on day one to be considered successful. And if it's not going to be successful because of your fee, I mean, you're hitting yourself in the foot now with an axe. I mean, the producer, apart from other things, has a survival instinct here. You know, he's going to be like, okay, listen, if I'm giving half my budget to one person, I am going to cut corners in how I make my film.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice.
23 years ago, there came a film that actually made us believe that madness always happens in a group of three. And for major part of my life, I believed it because it actually happened with me in my personal life as well. And now that madness continues with Madgaon Express, the movie that's gonna come and entertain all of you. And I have the producer and the director of the film, Farhan Akhtar and Kunal Kemmu, joining me for a conversation only on Galatta India. Thank you for doing this, guys.
Thank you.
I am happy that I'm meeting you more often, like I discussed. And I'm happy that you guys are going all out for a film like this because this is such a mad film. Before I start, I want to ask you, Farhan, that you know, you actually designed Dil Chahta Hai 23 years ago. And when you think of Madgaon Express, it actually brings back fond memories because it's a Goa connection, it's a group of three people. How do you take it when people actually still go back to that film and appreciate that film so much? Because when you started, possibly there would have been apprehensions about that.
Yeah, I don't know, I can only be thankful, you know, I mean, that life played out in this way, that a film that I made all those years ago, you know, I mean, still finds relevance in people wanting to tell stories today. But again, like, I won't say the word design though, because nothing was by design, you know what I mean? Like, you don't predict these things. For me, friends going to Goa was a part of our growing up. You know, like, you went there, you had a fun time, you had like memories was started being created when you spend time in Goa. So I just try to capture that in that film. The fact that it kind of really resonated with so many people, you know, who were in college, who were, I mean, also working at that time. And suddenly, like, everyone wanted to go to Goa and have like a little Goa moment. I don't know what made that happen. You know, I mean, there was something in like we spoke about earlier. I think just capturing the exuberance of youth, you know, and the freedom of friendship, you know, that when you're together you can do anything, you know, that feeling. I think it captured that, so that stayed with people, and it's continued to like influence and inspire, and I can only be thankful, yeah, because that kind of thing happens rarely in your career, you know, when you do work, and when it does, it's an amazing thing.
You know, Kunal, what are your like wildest and the funniest Goa memories? Like, everybody has a Goa story. I went with my friend's family first time.
Right.
And it was crazy because I think I don't drink, but he wanted to taste alcohol, and his face, if we had those Instagram moments at that point,
Right.
I would have captured it and put it up because his face was amazingly hilarious. I want to know, what's your Goa story, the first one. When you went with your friends, who did you go with?
I went with my college trip. The first one doesn't have like so many fun stories. It was just new because, like, you know, we'd kind of gotten out and we'd gone on our Marvel. So there was just like fun and exhilarating. So they were not like funny stories or like misadventures of any sorts. Those happened later.
But when?
Those happened later. I mean, like later on the future road trips. In fact, you were talking about Kandalam. I have this fun story where it's so weird. Again, three. It always happens in threes. We were on Kandalam beach, and the whole idea was that Goa is also known for women, and like we'll meet some women and we'll have some women friends also. We'll go for dinners and go to these pubs, not as teen londas, But now the thing was, who's going to talk to these women? Because as much as we are very brave in saying, we'll go and say, can I ask you out on a date? Because the film mein acha lagta hai. But nobody had the courage. So 3 of us were like sitting down there and we saw these 4 women in the water. And we were like, देख, माँ बाप साथ में नहीं है, ये तीनों travel कर रहे हैं, so हम भी तीन है, वो भी तीन है, hello hi करके, you can ask them out, would you like to have a drink with us? Now the thing is, only I spoke English. These two were my meet-out friends who were like, but हमको तो अंग्रेजी भी नहीं आती, ऐसे उनको भी नहीं आती, वो रशिया से, तो ऐसे तेरी जितनी वो लोग भी बोल लेंगे, तो नहीं, so we had to do a toss, कि कौन जाएगा? So this guy got stuck and he's like, but मेरे को तैरना नहीं आता. I said, swimming नहीं करनी है, यहाँ पे खड़े हैं वो लोग, पानी में ज़्यादा दूर नहीं है. Just go, man. Just like act and say hi. I'm also here, new tourist and all that, whatever. So, anyways, he had lost the bet, so he kind of went into the water. But of course, he didn't enter water like this. He entered the water like this. हाँ तो मैं तुम लोग भी आ जाओ पानी में करके, he's going पानी में पीछे, and I think they realized. So they started going deeper while talking. So he's also like looking there. And it was so cinematic. I looked at this other friend of mine. We were looking at him. I said, "ये कुछ करेगा नहीं, time pass कर रहा है, इसको वापस बुलाते हैं." Cut to, he's not there in frame. And these women are running. He'd gone into a riptide or something. So he got pulled in. So suddenly he's drowning. And these 4 girls were like actually helping him. So they brought him out. And then we also, I don't know what, we got so scared. And we were like, oh, क्या हो गया, embarrassed भी हो गए. तो हम लोग गए नहीं. ये किसका सामान है, हमारा नहीं है. वो उसको बाहर लेकर आए. Okay. He's also like, ऐसा हो गया. We are watching from the sidelines. जिंदा है ना, ठीक है ये. उसके बाद हमारा ये था कि लड़कियां चली गई. और वो वापस आया, तुम लोग मेरे को बचाने भी नहीं है. ऐसे पूछा. He said, क्या? I said, इतनी देर तुम लोग क्या कर रहे थे? He said, अबे मेरे को बचा रहे थे. And we were just depressed कि you didn't ask them out and they've gone. He's like, नहीं.
Are you still friends?
Yeah. We've had many more like those.
What is your wildest memory of Goa?
Wildest memory I can't share with you, unfortunately. But there's one very interesting thing that happened, and these are the kind of things that have happened to me in Goa. This is a good way of this captures it very interestingly. We had gone for a party, and at that time, I mean, I'm talking about like the 90s. Yeah, the parties used to go until like 6:37 in the morning, even later at times when breakfast set would start. When DJ would come only at 8 in the morning and start playing, like, yeah, and all this is going on. And finally, and this was in Arambol, in some place like that, and we were staying like in Kandulim, Kalangut side. So we've gotten back onto our bikes and we are coming back. And it was so late and we're so tired and so sleepy. And that time the roads were not so well defined.
Yeah.
Like now it's easier. You had to cross that, there was no bridge. That Morjim bridge didn't exist. So you had to get onto a barge and cross, take your bike onto a barge, the barge would take you across and then you could go. So all this stuff was happening and suddenly we are lost. We have no idea where we are. मतलब GPS नहीं है, phone नहीं है, वो नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है. Early in the morning, hardly any, but in any case, Goa, and the day very few people come out. So we are like lost. We are going through these lanes and this, that, and the other. And my friend is like, where are we here? So I'm like, let's go, let's backtrack and let's go. So we are going back, and suddenly, randomly, one white car comes in front of us and it pulls out from somewhere and it's right in front of us. And at the back is written, follow me. And we are like, let's follow him. And we followed that guy. He took us all the way. We have no idea who he is. We've never met him. He drove all the way past Kalangut. We stopped at Kalangut. He kept going. But he took us all the way from there and we reached our hotel.
Wow.
And we reached our hotel. And these kind
God
of
sent.
weird things have happened in
Wow.
Goa. Yeah.
But like you said, that madness actually happens in a group of 3. I have these 2 friends from college. Both are women, and we 3 are the worst. Like there are times where we have gone, and वो जो आजकल के reels होते हैं ना कि उसके बारे में बात मत करना, and then one person will go, अच्छा वो, and all that has happened.
Right.
People have come, people have said, you've said something, you've done this, and
But
all
how
those
nice
madness.
not to have memories that are only in your head.
Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean, not
Yeah.
everything has to be captured.
Absolutely.
It's just so nice. The people who were there experienced it firsthand, and that was it. That's something only you will share.
But madness always happens in a group of 3, like I was saying. So, have you also noticed that in your personal life, like even when, it's not just about the films, when you look back and you think of memories, and the funniest memories have always happened in groups of 3. It is so weird.
I mean, not necessarily. I've had with just 2 also, we've had some mad fun. But it just, see, I think in cinematic universes, it's important to have the third one, because if 2 are firing at the same sur, then there is no reaction.
Yeah.
If there are 2 people being funny or being foolish, then where do you get the laugh? Where is the pause? So you need the third. There has to be a voice of reason to meet the voice of chaos. So I think that's why
Yeah,
the three is important.
You know,
The third agenda is important.
The third dimension.
but 3 has always worked for your company, at least. Like whenever we've seen friendship buddy films, I think the group of 3 has actually stood out. And I feel like I was just going through the entire filmography that Excel Entertainment has. It's such a diverse variety of films. I want to ask you that. You come from a place where you had a legion to fall back on and the pressure of living up to that as well. But to give positioning to talent, it also becomes very important because it can be an easy route for you to go and sign anybody, you know, and anybody would like to work with you also. But to give that positioning to talented people who are genuinely waiting for a film like this, which is commercial, and unfortunately, all these 3 actors have been so wonderful in their previous projects, but the only problem is that they were never really, honestly, they were, I know OTT and all, but if you think of theatrical films, they were never really considered commercial commodities or commercial properties. Like I'm talking about the films. To give them that positioning, it takes a lot of guts. Do you agree on that? And how do you manage to do that? How do you manage to strike that balance?
Yeah, I don't think about it like that. Yeah. You know, I respect people and appreciate them for what they bring to their
Yeah.
table in their job. You know, all 3 of them are really talented. The times have completely changed. You know, I mean, I think again, just that whole thing that if something wasn't a theatrical success, then it wasn't successful at all. You know, but I mean, you have to travel with these guys to places where they've seen them in their shows, when they've seen Devendu in Mirzapur,
Absolutely.
where they've seen him in Scam. You know, so it's the right person has to find the right project. Even the most established star, so to speak, in the wrong project can misfire.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that synergy has to be correct. Yeah. So I don't stop to think about, is he a theatrical star or is he an OTT star? Is he a good actor and will he be
Absolutely.
fantastic for this part or not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all I have to care about. Because otherwise, how do you make films? Then you're going to make films with like 4 people, otherwise you can't make a film.
You know, Kunal, we've had this discussion that there are so many of your films that today are getting so much love because people are watching it, people are loving it, but possibly they didn't have the same amount of marketing that needed when it released. How important is it to have have producers like Excel Entertainment on a film like this? Because no matter what you make, if it is not positioned well, it will actually not reach out to the audience eventually.
It's very, very important. I think that's the first step of kind of, you know, setting out to do anything, because all the hard work will mean nothing if it does not find avenues to give the audiences a place to watch it. And a lot of times good stuff gets lost in the way. But, you know, like you mentioned earlier, it's unfortunate that the industry that is responsible for making big stars and big films itself sometimes forgets that it's the film that makes an actor into a star and not the other way around. Yes, you reap the benefits of the star, then later kind of, you know, you can mount a film bigger business-wise. But we often forget that, and kind of that limits everybody at different levels, whether it's a producer or a director, and it affects everybody. Yeah. It's not just one person. It doesn't start at the producers only. To kind of give talent the opportunity, and when I say talent, talent also has to be backed with if they physically fit the part. Just because you're a great actor, I can't cast a lanky guy to play a wrestler unless he's going to make that transformation. So there are various aspects that go into it. But as an actor, I realized earlier I used to be very naive and feel that if the script is good, that's it. But no, I mean, the producer is very important to pitch the film right, to market it right, to release it at the right time. That's a different level of expertise that we don't have. So I'm very, very happy that, you know, a film like Madgaon Express gets to be made with the actors that it deserved. And gets marketed like any other big film.
Absolutely. You know, there was this interview that Anupama Chopra had done with producer. It's a wonderful interview. Your sister was also a part of it, where they spoke about the dynamics of the film industry. Like they spoke entirely for the film industry and for the benefit. And they raised one important concern, which is that today when you budget a film, it has to be properly budgeted, right? When you're having a theatrical release. Like this is a very properly budgeted film from whatever we've discussed. But there are times when you cast actors who charge a very, very hefty remuneration, it actually brings up the budget and it actually also becomes a pressure on the producer to get the money back. How much of it have you faced in your career, and how much help have you got from actors also in that avenue? Did you face that this is an ongoing problem which needs to be addressed within the fraternity?
I think with changing times, everybody has to keep adapting to what is happening. I mean, this, in all fairness, in the last 4 years, with the exception of last year, I think there was a little bit of a dip that the theatrical film went through.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not many people. Maybe it was just still the effects of COVID.
Yeah.
Habit having set in that I'm okay to sit at home and watch it.
Yeah.
Why make the effort to go out? So, and in times like that, everybody has to come together. You know what I mean? That listen, if films are not performing, the actor cannot be a separate entity from the film. I mean, you're a part of that film. And as much as we want the actor to succeed, I'm imagining and I believe that the actor wants the film to succeed. Because the film
Absolutely.
succeeding helps the actor
yeah.
the most,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, in my experience, whenever we've spoken to people, I think most people that we work with do understand this and have been very gracious and have understood. I won't say gracious, but also been smart about it. You know, for the lack of another way of putting it, you have to be smart. You know, that you want your film on day one to be considered successful. And if it's not going to be successful because of your fee, I mean, you're hitting yourself in the foot now with an axe. So, I mean, a lot of people that we worked with did understand that. So, I have no complaints, you know, about talent that I've kind of worked with and over the last 3-4 years at least. And this debate will go on, yeah. You know, do actors charge too much? That will go on. But, I mean, I think most people now have realized that it makes more sense to get onto the back end of a film.
Absolutely.
You know, which is great because you're not putting pressure on the budget itself. If the film makes money, by all means, make as much as you want to.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
a
a
better
healthy
proposition.
Yeah, that's a healthy way of doing it. Because otherwise, what happens is, I mean, the producer, apart from other things, has a survival instinct here. You know, he's going to be like, okay, listen, if I'm giving half my budget to one person, I am going to cut corners in how I make my film.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice. You know what I mean? And that affects eventually what your film looks like and what other things look like and who else you cast.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I don't know, it's not very smart, is what I would say.
You know, your first film was about 3 friends. Your first film is about 3 friends and 3 male friends. Do you feel that there is a time today where 3 female buddies on a road trip, which is also Jee Le Zaara, which you're making? I think it's in the order of the day. Like, do you think that is something that needs to be explored? Because we've seen this and we've loved it, but do you think that there's space budget-wise and you know everything?
100%. I mean, you're asking me, I mean, like, I'm probably the last person you should ask this question.
Absolutely.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like the audience is so ready for it.
Yeah.
You know, again, of course, the material has to be good and the film has to be good and engaging and entertaining and all that stuff. But I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you see the announcement, I think there was unanimous love for the announcement of Jee Le Zaara. I think there were people like media people who were writing like, you know, we want to watch it tomorrow, and it was crazy because I think we've not seen it, and who better than you to
Thank you
get
very
it?
much. But yeah, fingers crossed that it should happen soon.
You know, and I feel that this movie is gonna go crazy because what happens with films like this is that it actually brings a smile to people's faces. You know, I remember watching Fukre, I think 10 days before the release here only,
Right.
and we were all laughing, and it's very seldom that press is laughing. You know, when we go for press shows, everybody's very serious and everything. I think that brought a lot of smiles. And when we saw the trailer, I can tell you this for sure, that it is such a mad film that we are all gonna watch it and clap and actually hoot for the entire
fantastic.
cast and the crew. And kudos to you, and I hope you do many, many more films as an actor, of course, but also as a
Thank you.
director, because it's important that we find people who bring smiles to people's faces. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you so
Lots
much.
of love. Thank you.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Govi, a vernacular edutech brand, skilling everyone everywhere.